Hello, my name's Peter. I've been testing motorhomes and camper vans for about 20 years or so, and today I thought I'd show you around my own personal van and to show you some of the features and why I chose them. I've had it 4 years now, so I'll also give you a bit of an overview, what went wrong, what was good, what was bad, what I'd do differently if I was doing another conversion. This particular one's a custom conversion, so come and have a look inside and see what you think. Inside, the first thing you'll notice is there's loads of leg room. That's because it's based on a long wheelbase version of the Renault Trafic. I can't understand why anyone goes for short wheelbase. To me, it's so much more useful having the extra living space when you get on a campsite. On the road, it's about 40 centimetres longer than the short wheelbase, so it's not a big issue at all. The only thing you find on the road is sometimes you need to do a 5-point turn where you might have got away with a 3-point turn in something else. Other than that, the width, height are all identical, so it literally is just 40 centimetres longer. I'll show you some of the kitchen features, which are a little bit different. For starters, we've got a Dometic flush sink. Because there was no room for a tap, I didn't want an ugly tap on the side, I've inset it into the sink by drilling a hole and fitted a little tiny Comet tap. That works reasonably well. The main thing is I wanted one with a lid, so I've got extra worktop space, always at a premium in a camper van. Above that, I've had a mug cabinet fitted, which it's only a small little feature. It's surprisingly useful, and I really like being able to have a mug close to hand. The hob, I'll put that over there, the hob is also a little bit different because I've got a Wallas diesel hob. Big fan of these. I think they work really well. I like the fact they're flush and easy to clean. And also this particular model, it's the Duo model, and it doubles as a space heater for the vehicle. So I like the fact that when I fill the vehicle tank up, I don't have to worry about gas cylinders or anything else. Just go to the petrol station, fill it up, and we know we've got all our heating and cooking requirements sorted. Works really well. The one thing I would say about it is it takes about 8 minutes or so to warm up. So if you're a tea drinker, a gas hob's a lot quicker. However, I don't mind that because I'm a coffee drinker. So I'll show you how I make a brew in the morning. And that brings me on to my other favourite feature, which is the inverter and Nespresso machine. Now, hidden in the back of this cupboard, I'm not sure if you can see it, but I've got a big 1500 watt NDS Pure Sine Wave inverter, bought from RoadPro. Very helpful. So to use the coffee machine, you push this button here to switch the inverter on, press this button on the top, and the lights start flashing. I've already put a pod in it, so we just have to wait for a few seconds for the Nespresso to heat up. This is a mini Essenza Nespresso machine. I think it's, I don't know if it's yes, Krupp's branded one. Cost about £80, and you get the pods from the Nespresso shop, John Lewis and various other places. Big fan of it, does really nice coffee. And there we go, and that's ready to go. We're not an electric hookup here, I'm in the middle of a field, so it works a treat. So I'm a big fan of the big inverter and the Nespresso machine. On this particular van, I've got a battery to battery charger from an NDS Gold Service 40, and I've got two Banner, I think they're 110 amp batteries powering all this. These Nespresso machines, I think they're about 1260 watts, take quite a bit of power on first startup, so you need a big inverter, and from my experience you need a Pure Sine Wave inverter. I've tried it with sort of cheap inverters, doesn't work well at all, it goes haywire. So you need a decent quality Pure Sine Wave inverter to run one of these. But yeah, I mean, you can see how long it took to make a coffee. Excellent. One of the other unusual features I've got in this particular van, which I was particularly keen on fitting, is I've got a 70 litre fridge. Needs a clean, so don't look too closely. Most camper vans have a sort of 40 or 50 litre fridge if you're lucky, and it often tends to stick out. Now, I didn't want that. I wanted a much bigger fridge, and I wanted it to be flush with the cabinets so that my sliding seat system can slide past it. This is a Vitrifrigo one, basically because that's the only one that would fit the dimensions I had. To get it to fit, I had to cut into one of the supports on the bodywork. I'll show you a photo of the work involved. Nothing particularly tricky, and it's only a minor support. It wasn't a bit of the vehicle's structure. It was basically a support for the side panel. I folded a bit of aluminium. I've got an aluminium folder and a few other bits and pieces. I made it out of quite thick aluminium and pop riveted it in place. That gets me the fridge in. It's got a separate compressor to save space and give more room in the fridge. And you can hear it running now. Makes a little bit of noise. It's not too bad. It doesn't run all the time. It's running flat out now because I've just switched the fridge on. But normally it's cycling on and off, so not too bad. In terms of power, everyone says compressor fridges are quite heavy on power. In practice, I've found my two 110 amp batteries and 150 watt solar panel and a battery to battery charger all work together to keep it topped up. I've never had it completely flatten the batteries, and it's run for, I'd say, up to about 5 days between electric hookups. So works really well. I prefer compressor fridges because they're more efficient than absorption fridges, get down to temperature better, and they also hold temperature much better when you're in hot countries, and that's when you really need your fridge. So big fan of that. Works well, been trouble free, 70 litres, brilliant. Another feature I was really keen on getting with my camper van is the sliding seat system. This one's from Reimo. It was fitted by CMC down south, and they did a great job. It's a really complicated job fitting one of these. You've got to level up the two floor rails, you've got to fit big beefy steel subframes underneath, and there's so much fit and finish to get it to look good and work smoothly. But happily they did a great job. To move it, you undo the two anti-rattle latches, lift that up, and then it slides on roller bearings. It's lovely and smooth, and that's one of the reasons I really like this system. It locks in place for the travel position, and it's got three 3-point seat belts. I think it's got Isofix as well. So it's a crash tested system, works really well. The only thing I do find with it, it's quite firm. So it's not, you know, you need to pad it with some cushions and things to make it as comfortable as it can be. I've also found a little trick that I put the seat forward like that, and it just allows you to slouch down a bit more and makes it more comfortable, I think, on a campsite. I like the fact you can put your arm here, natural armrest, and obviously you're close to all the controls for the heating, your batteries, charging points. So it works really well for us. Right, I'll just pop that back. To make up the bed, I'll just show you that quickly. I'm not going to make up the bed fully. You've seen loads of beds. Just flips forward, pull a lever, goes flush. One advantage with a Reimo bed is that you don't sleep on the side you sit on, so it saves the wear, and it also means they've got a nicely padded surface here. Again, it's quite firm, so we use it with Duvalet memory topper bedding systems. Yeah, it works well, and being able to make a bed up in seconds, that's really important. When you're tired and you've been driving all day, makes a big difference. So that's why I chose the Reimo Variotech 3000 seat system. I've got loads of other hobbies, so the sliding seat rails are really important to me. I do motorsport. When I've got wheels, tyres, jerry cans and all the sort of motorsport gubbins in the back, this seat slides all the way forwards till we get to the track, and it gives you a lot more luggage space. So brilliant, very, very versatile. The same when I'm doing mountain bike trips. That's really good. Okay, let's show you how the rear layout works. I did order it with a lift-up tailgate, but there was some cock-up made at the ordering time, so it's ended up with barn doors. Having said that, I find I actually prefer barn doors. So you can open them nice and wide, and you only need to open one door to get in, so you don't have a gale blowing through the van if it's in freezing cold conditions. So I think that's an advantage. With both doors fully open, there's loads of room. The Reimo seat, that flips up, but we leave it down, so we keep our bedding on it and various bits and pieces. Black wastewater tank there. Now behind that, there's a tank, the freshwater tank's in there. It's a removable one, so I can clean it. With the benefit of hindsight, it's a bit of a pain. You have to lift this up to open that hatch. So I think if I was doing it again, I'd probably put it here, so I don't need to move anything. I can just get the water tank out. As it is, this is a storage hatch for my mains, cables, that kind of thing. One thing I was particularly keen on was getting a little shelf here so that I can put my phone, my watch, that kind of thing, and charge them up on 2 charging points here. I think that's a lot of people have this cabinetry coming flush to the back doors, but it just means you have to put all your stuff, you have to lean forward to put your stuff somewhere else. I think it's more convenient to put it close to you, out of the way, in a nice little shelf. That's been particularly useful. Inside, on this particular Renault, I decided to stick with the twin passenger seat. One of the reasons for that is I quite like this little fold down useful thing. There's a sort of clipboard that goes in there and you can do various things with it. It's been quite useful from a sort of business point of view. I can put my notes on here when I'm visiting places. It's got a cup holder as well. But what I cocked up on is these seats. I didn't realise they're quite upright, and you can't adjust the backrest. It's in a fixed position. So they're not the most comfortable seats. As a driver, it makes no difference. I drive it most of the time, but I think my family would have preferred it if I'd gone for a single seat, which would have been adjustable, and it just would have been more comfortable. This particular one, I fitted a Caravan's swivel seat base. It's a bit fiddly to operate. You've got to undo 4 screws, and you have to sort of manipulate it around to turn the seat round. So it does work pretty well, but it's a bit fiddly. It's a bit more of a faff than a traditional, just a single swivel seat. So it doesn't actually tend to get used that often. I thought I would use the 6, because this gives me 6 travelling seats. I thought I'd use that more often than I have. In practice, it gets used, you know, once in a blue moon. So I'd probably, if I was doing it again, get rid of the twin seat, just have a single seat, and then I'd have the walkway into the back as well. Yes, I'd only have 5 travel seats, but for the amount of times I've used the 6 travel seats altogether, I think it would have been a good sacrifice to make. So yeah, that's what I'd do next time. The cab itself is pretty good on the Renault. I quite like it. The instruments are nice and clear. The sat-nav system, this is a sport spec, so you get a good sat-nav system. I think it's made by LG. Works really well. The other thing I particularly like, the one option I did have, was I've got a reversing camera on the rear view mirror. Works brilliantly. It was something like a £60 option at the time. So well worth having. It's been brilliant. It's only a little tiny screen, but I like the fact there's no separate screen cluttering up the dash. Works really well. What are the downsides to the Renault dash? Well, a lot of the controls are shared with Clios and other Renault models, and it all feels a bit plasticky. The fit and finish of things is not amazing. It's a bit Fisher Price in here. However, given the cost of the van compared to other vans, I'm quite comfortable with that, and it has all the essential things I need, which are sat-nav, air conditioning, cruise control, and a leather steering wheel. Though admittedly, it's not the best leather steering wheel, because that bit's plastic, and that bit's plastic. So it's kind of a half leather steering wheel, but that really is nitpicking. So my van is now 4 years old, and it's done about 42,000 miles. So what sort of things have gone wrong with it? Well, I've had a few issues. That headlight started misting up, so that was replaced under warranty. I also had 2 more serious issues. The first one was with the cam chain oil cover. It was leaking, so they had to pull the engine out for that and fix it under warranty. Again, they had it about a week. No issue, Renault were very good about it. That was all sorted quite easily. The other issue I had was just recently, 42,000 miles or so, the gearbox started making a whining noise, really loud whining noise. Apparently it's a bit of a thing on Trafics that the output bearings on the gearbox start breaking up and whining and making noise. So went back to Renault, again, no issue at all. And I think 4 days later, it had a brand new gearbox fitted. Hopefully the new gearbox has been modified and lasts a bit longer, but who knows. To be fair to Renault, this particular van, it's the 140 brake one, I whiz about in it everywhere, and I also tow a trailer, which weighs about 2 tonnes, so it tows right up to its maximum weight. The conversion weight is, I think it's about 2,600. It's plated to, I think, just over 3 tonne. So it is quite a heavy vehicle with all the bits and pieces on it, and it's pulling heavy loads. However, you know, that is a Renault thing. So that's one thing to bear in mind. If you are looking at a Renault and it's out of warranty, check the gearbox. Having said that, would I buy another Renault? Well, yes, I would. The reason being, I paid 17,000 and something for this when it was new 4 years ago. A lot of discount from the dealer. But if you're looking at something like a VW, that was something of equivalent spec and a similar engine and sat-nav and all the bells and whistles, that was working out about 10 grand more. So even if I had bought one of these second hand, you know, and the gearbox went, well, you might have to spend 1,500 quid fixing it. But you've still saved 8.5 grand compared to a VW. So, you know, I can live with that. The other thing I like about the Renault is how it drives. It's one of my favourite base vehicles to drive. This, the Mercedes Vito, the Ford Transit Custom, they're all my favourite base vehicles to drive. The VW is good, but feels a generation older, because it is. It's quite an old van, and we're all waiting for, I think, the 7th generation to come out. That should be, you know, a game changer, but it's not here yet. Mercedes, you know, money no object. I would probably have looked at something like a Mercedes Marco Polo, but this van in total cost me around about 34,000, with lots of help from my trade friends who, Hillside, did the windows, the carpeting, and the roof system. CMC, Reimo, they did the interior seat fitting. RoadPro helped out with all the electrics, and Richard Rhales Conversions, they did all the cabinets. So I had a lot of help from the trade friends, so that, you know, kept the costs reasonable. The equivalent Mercedes Marco Polo, you're talking 60, 70,000, and it's rear wheel drive. In Europe, you can get a 4-wheel drive one, but I'd much rather have front wheel drive than rear wheel drive on a camper van. I just think it's more practical and it's better in winter. So I hope you've enjoyed having a look around my van, and hopefully we'll all be back out enjoying the campsites sometime soon.